Lesson 131. In this lesson, we're going to learn a new noun from the first declension, and that is philia, and that means daughter. Philia is what we call an irregular word. It has two forms that do not fit the expected pattern. Let me draw your attention to the dative plural and the ablative plural forms of philia, and you'll see that they have a bus ending. So the dative plural is filiabus, and the ablative plural also is filiabus. These forms are not what you would expect from a first declension word. You would expect the dative plural and the ablative plural to be filiis. But there's a good reason why. The problem is that the word filiis is the dative plural of the word filius, which means son. So if the word for son and the word for daughter both had the same dative plural and ablative plural forms, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. So that's why philia is slightly irregular. Let's jump into our exercises and get some practice. In exercise 1, desiderat is the verb, philia is the subject, mala is an adjective describing philia, reginae is a genitive singular, and that's possessing philia, patriam is the direct object, and delere is an infinitive that means to destroy. So number 1 says, the bad daughter of the queen wants to destroy the homeland, or the queen's bad daughter wants to destroy the homeland. In number 2, we have two clauses, one before quod and one after. In the first clause, sunt is the verb, filii is the subject, agricolae is a genitive singular that's possessing filii, and validai is a predicate adjective. So the first clause says, the daughters of the farmer are strong, or the farmer's daughters are strong. In the second clause, portant is the verb. There's no other word in that clause to be the subject, so we need to use the word they as the subject. Aquam is the direct object, and cotidie is an adverb. So number 2 as a whole will say, the daughters of the farmer are strong because they carry water daily. Or, the farmer's daughters are strong because they carry water daily. In number 3, eidificant is the verb, weary is the subject, opd is a genitive singular that's possessing weary, kasam is the direct object, and we have two ablatives of means, ligno and saxisque. So number 3 will say, the men of the town are building a house with wood and rocks. In number 4, the word said divides the sentence into two clauses. In the first clause, amant is the verb. It's being negated by non. Pueri is the subject. Patriae is a genitive singular possessing pueri. And pugnare is an infinitive that means to fight. So the first clause will say, the boys of the homeland do not like to fight. In the second clause, desiderant is the verb. There's no other word to be the subject, so we'll need to use the word they that's included in desiderant. And the word they refers back to the boys in the first clause. Patriam is the direct object, and servare is an infinitive that means to guard. So the second clause will say, they want to guard the homeland. So number 4 altogether will say, the boys of the homeland do not like to fight, but they want to guard the homeland. In number 5 we have two clauses, one before quod and one after. In the first clause, est is the verb. It's being negated by non. Agricola is the subject, and litus is the predicate adjective. In the second clause, potest means he, she, or it is able, and there's no other word in this clause to be the subject, so we will need to use the word he, she, or it. We'll use the word he as the subject, and that refers back to the farmer in the first clause. Arare is an infinitive that means to plow, and agrum is the direct object. So number 5 will say, the farmer is not happy because he is not able to plow the field. In number 6, eidificamos is the verb, kasam is the direct object, and ligno is an ablative of means. So number 6 will say, we are building a house with wood. In number 7, narat is the verb, poeta is the subject, filiabus is the indirect object, That's the dative plural form of philia, and you can see it has the irregular bus ending. Agricolae is a genitive singular that's possessing filiabus, and fabulas is the direct object. So number 7 will say, the poet is telling stories to the daughters of the farmer, or the poet is telling stories to the farmer's daughters. In number 8, servo is the verb. We have 2 direct objects, philios and philiasque, and reginae is a genitive singular that's possessing philios and philiasque. So number 8 will say, I am guarding the sons and daughters of the queen, or I am guarding the queen's sons and daughters. In number 9, dot is the verb, regina is the subject, mala is an adjective describing regina. We have 2 indirect objects, viris and feminisque. Those are both in the dative plural. Patriae is a genitive singular that's possessing viris and feminisque. Dona is the direct object, and numquam is an adverb. So number 9 says, the bad queen never gives gifts to the men and women of the homeland. In number 10, we have 2 clauses, one before quod and one after. In the first clause, sumus is the verb, and validi is the predicate adjective. In the second clause, habemus is the verb, and there are 2 direct objects, gladios and scutaque. So number 10 says, we are strong because we have swords and shields.